Welcome to Book Huddle. I'm your host, Karen Reader with Readgab. And today I have content creator, Mr. Colby Sharp. He is the podcast host of The Yarn, and he does the same thing as I do, always recommending kids' books, trying to help kids fall in love with reading. And as the end of the year is upon us, I was just like, we need to have a discussion about favorite kids' books. And I was going to do it by myself, and I thought it would be so much more fun to get another person on that does the same thing and just go over some of our favorite books from the year and just bounce some ideas off of why we love these books. So, Colby, I'll just let you take a second to introduce yourself. What else do you do besides sharing a love of reading?
I am a flag football coach. This year, I coached a kindergarten through second grade team and a third and fourth grade team. My sons were on those teams. It's I probably love coaching flag football more than any human should, but I just adore that time with the kids. I teach fifth grade, which is really fun. And then I get to have some of those kids in class next year, which is pretty cool because
That is
they my
cool.
fourth grade team, so I'll have them in my could have them in my class. I teach in the same school that I went to as a kid, and my kids go here. My parents still live basically in the backyard of the school, so
That's
all of
awesome.
my five kids have had the just joy of walking to grandma and grandpa's house after school every day. So yeah, I'm living the dream. Very
That
lucky.
is so cool. I didn't know about the flag football. That's a fun fact to hear about you.
It's
I've
the
heard you talk about
best. It's the
the other
best.
things on your channel, but that is awesome.
Yeah, I should start pumping out flag football content. I'm
You
sure that's
should.
there's the
You know,
audience for that.
I can't think of a book that has flag football. Do you have one? Do you have
No,
that? No?
no, no.
We need to find one. Apparently there's a need for that out
I
there.
actually think sports books are really hard in LM for like young kids because just the stakes are never really very high with
Right.
youth sports. And it's become such like a club sports scene where you have to spend like thousands and thousands of dollars to be on like the good teams. So
Right.
I don't think that's not really very interesting for readers. So not a lot of great sports books out there.
Right, right. Well, one of mine is a sports book of a unique nature. So
Let's go. Well, what is it?
all
Should
right,
we
so
start there?
let's get started because I don't have a particular order. Do you have an order you wanted to do
No,
your books in?
definitely not.
Just like, yeah, it's so hard to say this is number one and this is number 10. So, yeah, one of my favorites is Slugfest
Mm.
this year. I absolutely loved it. I got teary. I was listening to it and I loved that these kids each had their representation of themselves. So, really quick elevator pitch for Slugfest, for those of you who are listening, is these kids have to go to like a summer school camp to do their PE credit that they didn't get done. And so it starts out with like the all-star football player, basketball player. He gets sucked into this, and then these other kids that get sucked in for this various reason, and they end up putting together a football team. And
Mhm.
wait, are they flag football
It might
over
be
there?
flag football, right? Because it's at like the end of
Yeah,
the
because the
the
girls are on it
summer.
too. Is it flag? It is flag.
And the one kid, the main character, I guess, he can't play.
Yeah.
He has to do the summer school because he's an eighth grader who missed
Yes.
so many days of gym class because he was playing like high school
Or the high
baseball
school
before
team.
he was
Yes.
early. And then he has to do this in order to be able to play football as he enters high school. So he feels like he's falling behind because they're all practicing football and he's in gym class with, I guess,
The
almost like
They
reminds me
call
of
them
like
the slugs, the ones who
the
are undesirables for the sport
yeah,
teams, right?
it's the land of misfit toys, right? From Rudolph,
Yes. I
basically.
love that
Yeah.
comparison. Yes.
It's a great book.
Yes, I loved it so much. I loved this just true representation of he doesn't want to be there.
Mhm.
And then coming around and making these friends and just seeing his true like kindness and in the end of them getting together and these, misfit sports team that forms this football team that they go
Yeah.
up against, the better teams. And it was silly. I loved how funny it was. The humor was just there. So Gordon Corman, I've only read two of his, but I've heard that just he's just amazing. Baker was the other one, and that was this year.
I think that he's become like this generation's Andrew Clements, the author of
Yes.
Frindle. He writes those school stories really well. He does it in a way where, like, I think everyone can relate. His book Restart's probably one of the most popular books the last decade.
Right.
Um, and Unteachables and so many. I think he has 103 or 104 books.
Oh,
And
wow.
we
I did
started
not
publishing.
realize how many you
Yeah,
have.
he started publishing books in school. He was in an English class in eighth grade taught by the gym teacher, and he put him in charge of the Scholastic book order. And Gordon sent in a story with the book order, and they thought it was the teacher. And
Uh-huh.
Scholastic decided to publish the book. And then they realized that it was a now ninth grader writing the book. And I guess the rest is history. 100 plus books later, multiple New York Times best-selling books.
Yes, he's
Wild.
has this awesome humor. I didn't realize his backstory. That is so cool. I just love because, and I've started recommending it so much. It can appeal to the middle schoolers, but could be read and
Mhm.
enjoyed by high schoolers as well. And it just
Yeah.
great, things to think about, and but also it's just so fun. It's just has the best humor. All right, okay, now you do one. What's one of your
I,
favorites?
I do have Faker on my
Oh,
list.
yay. Okay, let's talk about it because
So it's about
I
yeah,
just gave that to my son to read. He needs a term book for English honors, and I was like, do it here.
yeah. So it's about a boy named Trey whose family, I guess, swindles people, tricks people out of their money.
Right,
And they live in a place, they move into a community and live for a few months until the dad can trick some people into hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then they move on to
right.
a new community. And most of the book takes place in them trying to convince people that they have like the next, I don't know, like Tesla.
Yes.
And it's fine for Trey until they start to not be taking money just from the rich people, when his friends' parents are starting to be the ones that are in danger of losing things where the money will hurt a lot more. So I loved just watching Trey learn to, feel for others and realize that what they were doing wasn't such a good idea. That's fascinating to watch the character growth in that one.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that like he has an ethics unit in class, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's like, well, I'm cool though because it's just the rich.
Yeah.
Like at first, like even when he's faced with ethical questions, he's like,
When he's dealing with his sister wanting to his younger sister wanting to get
yes.
involved in the family business. And yeah, phenomenal book.
Yeah, yeah. My son had enjoyed watching that show White Collar, and I was like, hey, you'll like this.
Oh yes. I loved that
Mhm.
show.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like perfect for a good transition. All
Yeah.
right, so my jam is fantasy. I love fantasy so much.
Okay.
Other is historical fiction. So this year I've been reading like genre smash. Like I had my last guest on the podcast was Valor Wings, Sam Subity. And so one of my favorites is a genre smash. It's Max and the House of Spies.
Mm.
Just this light amount of fantasy that he has these two mythical creatures hanging out on his shoulders. And then he is a Jewish kid that is sent to, be safe in England, and but he wants to be a spy because he wants to get back to Germany to find his family. And so the first book is just the story about him trying to get to become a spy and get back to Germany and convince them that he would be a good spy. I think my favorite is his response, his reaction to people making fun of him as a Jew, that he just like quietly gets back at them, like in a
Yeah.
very like sneaky little quiet way.
And we're inching closer to book two coming out.
Yes, right
It's
in
exciting.
February, I think.
Mhm. I had
Yeah.
a kid in my fifth grade class just finish the second book in a Tale Dark and Grim series. Adam Gidwitz's books are phenomenal. He's a Newbery
Yes.
Honor winning author. He's done so much. So former teacher, uh, and just a great dude.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That this was my first encounter with him as well. So yeah, I've loved it. All right, what else you got next?
I guess I'll do a fantasy.
Okay.
A Strange Thing Happened in Cherry Hall by Jasmine Warga.
Yes, I
It's
loved it.
one of my favorite books of the year. I just finished reading it aloud on Monday with my fifth graders, and it's so much fun. Like the last 30 pages trying to figure out who stole this painting. So it's about a boy who lives with his mother, his mom is a custodian at a small museum, and a painting goes missing, and she's one of the suspects, and no one really knows what happened. So with the help of a girl in his class, they try to solve the mystery. And there's a lot of twists and turns. There's a ghost who you don't know who the ghost
Yeah.
is. Very early in the book, you learn that the ghost was the girl in the painting.
Yes.
And it's just a wild ride on watching all of the pieces uncover and come
Yes.
to a really fun ending.
It's such a great mystery, such great writing and awesome representation. That was a great one. So let's see. I'm going to do a kind of spooky sort of one then. Well, that ghost wasn't spooky. I don't know. I thought I'd try to trans
Yeah.
based on the ghost. But so Stage Fright by Wendy Paris.
Okay.
And
I don't know that
this
one.
one girl goes back to visit her friends after she had moved. And it turns out like everybody's kind of moving on. And she's like, oh, why are we not the same? You know, kind of that middle school kind of thing that friends go through, whether they move or not. And so she comes up with this great idea that they're going to go to this haunted theater and perform a seance to communicate with the girl who died there. And they, of course, you know, get a lot more than they bargained for. And there's other supernatural elements going on with this one ghost. Yeah, just I love the way it just stayed with me so much
Mm.
because at Halloween we were out getting ice cream and I turned around and there were just these skulls out and I was like, and I mean, it wasn't even like a keep me awake at night book, scary, but like it would like unsettled me whenever I saw a skull after that for like the following weeks because I was like, "Ugh, don't touch it,
Yeah.
creepy skull." It was just a perfect amount of like kind of spooky and friends. It was a good Halloween read.
Yeah, I don't do spooky. No spooky.
You know, this book, I
Not
found
at
that
all.
middle grade spooky is like
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
perfect for me. Like Brick, Dust, and Bones, M.R. Fournet's books, like I don't know, very rarely does it keep me up at night because I had also like been like I don't do spooky.
Yeah.
When I was in high school and or college, I think, and saw The Ring, and like that just ruined me for scary movies for years.
Yeah.
It was just like
I
never.
don't know why. Yeah.
And
I don't know
so,
why anyone would ever. Why would anyone ever want to be scared? It's such
right,
an awful feeling.
right.
Ugh.
So middle grade spooky is perfect for me. It's like
Middle
just
grade spooky.
enough. Yeah, yeah.
That's fun.
So I- you're up.
Louder Than Hunger by John Shu.
Hey, I haven't read that one, but it's
Yeah,
definitely
so it's about
my
a boy named Jake. He's a teenager, kind of like end of middle school, early high school age, who has developed an eating disorder and has to be admitted into a hospital.
Mhm.
I guess basically to try to save his life. And watching him deal with that and go through that struggle
Right.
and kind of get out for a little bit, and things don't go so well, and has to go back. It's a really beautiful book. It's a really important book. John, the author of the book, John Shu, dealt with an eating disorder and was admitted as a
Wow.
child. So it's, comes from a place close to his heart,
Yeah, yeah.
told
I
in
love
verse.
that when you can feel that reading a book.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a really beautiful, important book, showing up on all of the end of the year book list
Oh, yes, I've seen it
and
all over. I can't believe I
yeah,
haven't read it yet.
the Mock Newbery list and all that stuff. So really
Oh,
exciting.
absolutely.
Made the New York Times. It was a New York Times bestseller. So it's just great to see that Jake's story is
Yes.
finding so many young readers.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let me see. I'll find a more serious one now too. All right,
Dun,
Safiyyah's
dun,
War. Have you
dun.
read that?
Oh, I'm reading it now.
Oh, so
How do
good.
you say it? How do you say the name? I don't know how to say the
I
name.
say Safiyyah, and I hope I say it right
I
because
feel like I was saying like Serafina or something in my head, but
is
I
there an
don't
R? I didn't think there was an R.
probably
Put
not.
it
I'm
down
not very
really
good at the
quickly.
names.
So,
Yeah. That's the one they're in France in World
right.
War II,
And
right?
it's,
And France or Germany has just got there, and
mhm.
all her the Jewish friends are no longer going to school.
And she's
That's about as far
Muslim.
as I got.
And
Yes.
so it's a different representation than I've read because
Hmm.
I love historical fiction, like I said, and there's so much historical fiction about World War II because it's such a
Hmm.
clear good versus evil. It's so easy to write about.
Yeah.
And I loved this story that I didn't know I needed in my life. When I lived in Virginia, I worked with a lot of refugees and I've worked with a lot of people and made friends there. And I didn't realize that Muslims had this just wonderful, amazing interaction during World War II and how
Mhm.
they were affected by it as well. And oh, it was so powerful to hear this girl and, what it was like for her to be Muslim at that time period, and also her Jewish friends and them trying to stand up for what was right while they are also just borderline about to be persecuted as well. And it was amazing. Just it top, I think I will just love it forever.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm about, it's really, it's so we are recording this. I have a half day of school left before winter break.
Right?
So I am in the stages of most nights. I am reading like 2 pages before I fall asleep.
Right.
So like I'm like I wonder what it's like. I can't even remember what it's like to not read tired. Like where you can read where you don't
Stay
fall
awake
asleep because it's been a while. It's been a minute since I have not fallen asleep while I'm
while you're
reading. So
reading.
I'm very much looking forward to catching up for a day, getting some sleep, and then
Nice. Being able to
watching. Yeah, getting to
enjoy.
to
Yeah.
finish that one up. It's exciting.
Yeah, I actually yesterday I finished an audiobook. I was just sick in bed and then laying there listening to audiobook
Oh
and then
no.
I would fall asleep. Be like, what's happening? All right. What's your next one?
The Shape of Lost Things by Sarah Everett. Sarah
Okay.
kind of
No, I haven't
blew
even heard of
through
it
the
at all.
yeah, so her book, The Probability of Everything, was one of like
Yes.
the hottest books
Okay,
last year.
yes. I'm aware
So
of that one. Okay.
that book was just rocked my sock like world.
Yeah,
Like it
yeah.
was
I love
probably
it.
my favorite book of the year. And she's back with The Shape of Lost Things, which is about a boy and a girl, brother, sister, and the parents are divorced. They're both like, I think, physicists or some sort of
Okay.
scientist. The dad has some mental health issues, and the dad takes the brother and they just run away.
Oh,
And no one has heard of from them. And they've kind of had to like move. It's been over like 4 years
wow.
where he has been gone.
Okay.
And so they kind of get you all through that. And then most
Right.
of the book, they find the boy and he's put back into the family with the mom and the daughter. And
Okay.
it's just watching them try to bring their family back together. All the, he still, like, he loves his dad, but everyone's just, really confused about what happened and why it happened. And this girl is convinced that it's not her brother, that it's
Oh,
someone because of how he's different in those
okay.
4 years. So yeah, it's really fun. It's really
Wow.
wild. It's unlike anything that I've
Yeah,
ever.
yeah. A very unique story. I don't think I've read something quite like that.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize that she came out with a new book. I felt like it should have been like national news after
Right,
how big
right.
the
Because
last one
I
was.
read the probability
But
thing and loved it.
I just kind of I just got it in like a package from
In
the
one of your
publisher,
boxes.
and I didn't even realize it. And what was wild too is I was reading the back
Uh-huh.
of the book, and they have all these blurbs. I'm like, oh, there's a blurb from me. Oh, that was funny.
Ah,
It's just some words that I said about the last book.
oh, about the last book. You're like, I
Yeah, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's weird. So,
that's
but
funny.
yeah, I love The Shape of Lost Things. It's really fun.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, I'm adding it to my list. All right, let's see. Secret Language of Birds. Have you read that?
Yeah, I read that. Yeah, I loved her book
Yes.
before
A
that too.
Song
Was
for a
that The
Whale.
Song for a Whale?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
I love that book.
Yes.
I love both of the
And I
books.
love the tie-in from the two books, Song for
Yes,
Secret
so they're
Language of
the
Birds.
companion
Yes.
novels. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
fun.
like you don't have to have read the one, but if you have, like there's this overlap of
Yes,
character. Yeah. I loved it. This girl goes to summer camp and she's not interested in going to summer camp, but she does it and she's like starts having these connections with birds, right? Oh no, has she always had a good connection with birds? She likes birds in any event, going to camp.
obsessed. Is
Yeah,
obsessed with birds.
right.
Yeah,
At that point, she just loves birds but not so much the people connections. And so she is learning to make some people connections while she's at summer camp, more like she just wants to be there to help her aunt who she loves. And so, but she ends up with an awesome opportunity to further connect with a bird who has kind of a unique story to the area. And so they get somebody connect with them to document the bird and their egg and but also the friendships developed. I
yeah,
The
that's really fun.
writing and the emotions felt just phenomenal. Loved it.
It's a great book.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
So The Wrong Way Home by
Okay.
Kate O'Shaughnessy
Okay.
is about a girl named Fern. I think she's like 12 or 13,
All right.
and her mother live in a community, I think is what they call it, but it's a cult. Like they live
Oh,
in a cult. And the girl really likes, like, this is just like the life that she's known for quite a while. And one night, like the mom like gets a car and they just takes her and they like drive across the country trying to run away from this life that they had. And she had no idea how toxic it was. And she really, for much of the story, fights her mom on it and
wants to go
wants to get
back.
back and is
Okay.
trying to find the people and let them know where she's at so that they can come and get her and bring her back where she belongs. But it was nuts. Like to
Wow.
read about that in a middle grade novel was it was a wild ride, and it was very intense. Like you're worried that like this guy's going to show up and then stuff happens, and it's not good, but and it's a beautiful book.
Wow. I love this about middle grade that they can tackle just some really heavy content, but
Hmm.
way that is consumable, right? That you
Hmm.
don't feel like you're crazy, torn apart, and I don't know. I think middle grade just has this amazing ability to balance so much of extreme, but keeping it not too deep. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
I love middle grade. It's where I love to be. But it did make me think of my next one, Quagmire. I think I say
Oh
his
yeah,
name. Tiarello.
it's a great book.
Couldn't be better. I don't know if I
Hmm.
say its right last name right, but let me think. I think I might confuse the storyline with Hank Hooperman. Tell me if I, because they both are so great and they have these overlap that if I heard both of them introduced, I'd be like, they sound like the exact same story, but they're not. Like they're both about kids who end up with, moms who are not taking care of them like they should, but then they're so different after that. So Quagmire, his mom disappears and he's
Hmm.
just trying to take care of, does Quag have a little sister or is that Hank?
That's Hank, because that's why Hank is trying to take care of his
Yes. And
sister.
they end up over, sorry, I knew I'd confuse
No,
the
you're
two.
good.
Quagmire has his friends at the community center.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
doing like a summer camp, putting on a
Yes.
play.
And he's like, he only does it because of the girl that he thinks
Got a
is
crush on the
cute,
girl. Yeah.
right? Yes. And so he's getting involved in that and he's like trying to deal with the fact that his mom's not there, but then mom shows
And
back.
she's just gone. Like she's
Yeah.
just gone. He's like living all alone in the
Alone.
apartment, no food, nothing. She's just gone.
And he's not letting anybody else know about it. He's just
Mm.
like, okay, great. What's going on? And she's had problems before and he's had to deal with this. And she just,
Never this long. Yeah, she's never
yeah,
been gone
never
this.
this long, but like, and then in social situations that he tries to, he's like embarrassed, but he has to kind of usher her away. And she all of a sudden shows back up. He ends up in the South or something. She like drives him to another state and they get in a disagreement and she gets upset and then takes off again. And he's like alone
No
and
phone,
no
nothing.
phone. Yeah, nothing.
He
This
has,
poor kid.
yeah, I think he has his mom's phone that's dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like literally left on the side of the road, 10 hours away from home.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like I just can't even imagine. Like so I feel like I've read so many books this year that kids just feel like they have to carry things for their parents. But this one in particular and similar like Hank, they really do carry things themselves. Mystery of Locked Rooms, like all these other ones that they feel like they have to, they do still have responsible parents. But this one, he doesn't have a responsible adult in his life at the time. It's just incredible. And then his reactions to thing and when he's annoyed he's just like "Ugh." He's so real like a kid should be annoyed about this and then his development and it's just yeah there's humor with it and he's got this sarcastic kind of fun humor it's just a amazing ride of a story just loved
Yeah.
it.
And there's another one in that same kind of area as those two, and that's And Then Boom by Lisa Phipps,
Yes,
which
I've
is,
heard so much about it but have
yep.
not read and then boom.
So that's a middle grade
Yes.
novel in verse.
Hmm.
And Lisa brought us Starfish, which won a
Yes.
Prince honor. And man, she writes some awful mom characters.
Oh
Holy
man.
smokes. This one is kind of similar as the other books we just talked about, where the mom kind of bails on them, and
Right.
Joe is living with. Are able to get a trailer through a friend, and he's living there with his grandmother, and then she passes away,
Uh,
and he kind of convinces everyone that his mom is back. She's because she kind of comes back for a second, but
right.
and
Right.
then he's just like starving to death. It kind of has a whole like end of the school year where no longer he'll have those meals and those snacks that
Wow.
his teacher helps him out with, even to the point where he's like eats dog food to try to survive. And yeah, it's another one of those, man, these stories where kids are having to overcome things that
That
thankfully
kids should
most of
not
the
have to
kids,
face.
oh yeah, don't ever have
Right.
to think about. But beautiful book.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. It was one of the Global Reader books for the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Awesome. All right. Let's see. Operation Happy. Loved it. Jenny Walsh. And so I had two on my list that were, and I don't know that we're going to be able to get into like everything. So I'm just going to hurry and say I also have Heroes by Alan Gratz on my list that I just love Alan Gratz. He's just, his thing is putting kids in just mortal danger. And so Pearl Harbor story of him, these kids going through Pearl Harbor, and then also the very real what happens afterwards with people of Japanese descent in Hawaii and the US. So also Operation Happy touches lightly on that. But this girl, she gets a dog. And when they move to Hawaii, and she's always wanted a dog, and it's a retired police dog. And so her mom's not happy to be at Hawaii, and she's kind of going through some things with her mom being upset, and she's just having a hard time. And so she's bonding with this dog, and it's really, really such a unique story that alternating chapters are from her point of view and then the dog's point of view.
Okay.
And it's the beginning is Pearl Harbor, and then most of the story is when they move to California. They're
Mm.
relocated. Dad's still at Pearl Harbor, but mom and her sister and dog are in San Francisco, kind of being relocated. And mom is going through depression, but back then people didn't really take care of and handle
Yeah.
depression as well, and so other adults aren't noticing that, and she's trying to, acclimate in the school there, and just the dog really just helps her through so many things. And
Oh,
it's just such a neat story. And then the fun chapters of from the dog's point of view are just so fun.
that's awesome. Well, it's hard to have a Kate DiCamillo book and not mention it. And we have
Yes.
one in Ferris,
Oh, loved
which
it. Every story is a
is,
love story.
yeah, just such a amazing group of characters. And I just think that every character in this book could have their own book. That's
Right.
because that's how, like Ferris's little sister
Oh,
is just
reminds me so much of my son.
one of the most unique characters
Yes.
readers will
Pinky.
ever meet. Pinky, yeah. So that was a fun one.
Yes.
Uh, Family just kind of trying to figure things out. Her grandmother aging, her grandmother falling in love, her uncle living in the basement because kind of his him and his wife are not doing well, and he's painting the history of the world. There's just I have no idea where
Yes.
she comes up with these things,
Right?
but
It's just so
she
wonky.
can put together. She can spin a tale.
Painted
So
a foot.
that's a beautiful one.
Right.
That's a beautiful book.
She's just incredible. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that idea though. We should tell her. We need to hear a Pinky story now for us about.
She's visiting our school in April, which is
Oh,
really cool. We're
so
really
great.
excited.
That would
Yeah,
be so
it'll
awesome.
be fun.
Oh, that is incredible. All right, let's see. I'm gonna go with a fantasy. Impossible Creatures. I feel like it's getting all the hype that it deserves. I loved it. Just this new fantasy story about a boy who he's sent to stay with uncle, I think it is, in Scotland. I think it's in Scotland. And he is told not to go off exploring by himself or whatever. Anyways, he ends up in a situation where he's up by this lake and fantastical creatures are coming in and out. And so he goes through this portal to this fantastical world, and this girl
Okay.
can fly with the help of this coat is being chased and hunted by a murderer, and she doesn't really know why. And so then they team up to try to figure out like what's going on and to try to get her to safety. And it turns out the fate of the magical world is at stake.
Oh
Um,
boy.
so, you know, one of those big high stakes, everything magic's at stake. But I loved it. It is totally up my alley with all things magic. And it was just so fun. Such amazing characters that are so much fun. You just fall in love with. The writing's so fun. There's just unique, fantastical characters that they meet along their journey and dangerous, mean, awful ones. And it's such a fun one.
Is there a map at the beginning? It sounds like a book with a
Yes.
map at the beginning.
Yeah.
See, if I open a book and I see a map,
Oh,
close that
you're
book.
done?
No maps. I can't
No
do it.
maps.
Maps. Yeah, I can't. I'm glad those books exist for readers like you and the millions of readers that sit in our classrooms that can't get enough dragons and
You know what? And
magic.
I don't really hang out with the maps much.
Yeah,
I just jump right
it's a
in
red flag. Red
story.
flag.
No maps for you, huh?
No maps.
All
No
right.
maps. How
So
about
high fantasy, just
so
not your thing then, huh?
oh no, my friend and John Shu and I we read all of the Newbery Medal winning books.
Right, right.
Read like one a week, and then we would make a video and post it on the weekend for like I don't know, almost 2 years. I think is how
Right.
long it took. And man, there's some fantasy in there. Like
Just wasn't your thing.
what was that? I don't know. I can't remember which one that was like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? It's like, but people love it. People, I mean, that's why what was that show on HBO where the Dragon Queen and the Glory Game of Thrones, like
Game of
people
Thrones.
love their magic. So
They do.
respect. How
They
about we
do.
go with a school story? Frindle
Let's
Files, Andrew
do it.
Clements, his last
Yes.
book, 20 plus years later. We're back in the world of Frindle. We're not really sure why we're back in the world of Frindle, but there we are. We have a new kid,
Yes.
and he exists in this world where Frindle was once a big news story and a thing, and his parents remember it. And it kind of comes up again with his new teacher and all of the things that they do in school. And it just was really fun to revisit that world. Andrew passed away a few years ago, and what a
Right.
gift he was
So tell me
in
it.
children's
I kind of
literature.
read about it briefly. It was his story, but somebody had to finish it, editing it or something. Is that right? That
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how much was done, what part of the process. I know that he waited a long time until he felt that it was right to write a new
right,
Frindle
right.
and did not get it done before he passed away. But I think he had like four boys, I think. Uh, his wife is wonderful. I got to interview him for my podcast about
Oh,
6 or 7 years ago,
awesome.
and his wife
Awesome.
sat in on the interview, and
That's so
he's
cool.
just one of those genuine people who really care so much about his readers, and it's such a fitting conclusion to his collection of books.
Love it. I haven't read it, but I know it's out there and I've been wanting to grab it. So
My son's class is reading it aloud, and they're just
yes,
like right across the hall and down one. So it's
yes.
so fun to walk by
Oh,
and to see them getting their frindle on.
hear that? Oh, that's fun. That is so fun. Because it's one that, remember it from years ago. So one of the ones on my list that I wanted to recommend at the end of all my interviews, I have authors recommend a favorite book of theirs, and Abby Cooper, that's what she recommended. So
Frindle.
give a shout out to True Colors.
True colors,
I
yes.
loved True Colors. It is just the idea that this girl wears her emotions very literally on her sleeves, that you can see how she feels and how she's in this community that's just supposed to be this happy community that everybody's positive, but
It's kind of a cult. Yeah, it's like a
yeah, it's
cult.
kind of a
Like
cult. Yeah, she talked about
is
that, that
it
she
called
was,
like serendipity or serenity?
yes,
One of
yeah,
those.
Serenity. Serenity, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
She really has the magical realism
yes,
genre figured out. I think
awesome.
that all of her books from Sticks and Stones
Right.
to Bubbles, yeah,
Yeah,
she's friend or fiction. She's got it figured out. My
yes.
readers love her books.
Yes, I loved it. And I loved how like the characters responded to her and then how they responded when they experienced wearing their emotions and just just so awesome. All right, let's see. We're probably getting close to time. So I don't know how many more you have on your list. Let's both do one more.
One more. Okay. I'm gonna do Slouch by Christina Weinman.
Loved it.
Yeah, it's about a girl named Stevie who is very, very tall.
Mhm.
And her brother is obsessed with basketball, and she isn't, even though everyone thinks she is because she's tall.
Yeah, she could
And
be,
her
could
whole
be.
family's life revolves around her brother's basketball career.
Mhm.
And she feels very, very left out and not part of the family. The parents are going through some things, fears as though dad is developing or has a always had a drinking problem. So there's some issues there with the family. Uh, but it's really good. She also wrote a book called Jawbreaker last year, which was phenomenal, about a girl who has a lot of dental issues. So I feel like, as much as I want you to all read Slouch, I think that equally importantly that you put Christina Weinman on your radar, because I think she's really, she has it as a middle grade author, and
Yes.
I feel like we're gonna get like a book a year from her, and that's really exciting.
Yes. Yes. So awesome. And it's like, why do we still, in our society today, so loudly need to say, stop making comments about people's bodies?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I love that that's brought up. I love the debate that that they argue the
Oh
importance
yeah.
of debate, and that was really fun in that book. So, oh man, okay, my last one. I'm having a hard time choosing. Okay, I'm not gonna say The Whisperer X Labyrinth of Lost and Found because you're not so into the high fantasy. So instead, we'll do a
Not
little
about me.
fantasy. Just kidding. I just had to say it out loud. I was figuring out a way to say too. No Brainer's Guide to Decomposition. Have you
I
read
don't know
No
that
Brainer's
one. I've
Guide?
never even heard of that one.
Oh my gosh. Have you heard of Adriana Cuevas then, the author?
Uh,
Oh, so much fun. Okay. So
okay,
she's
making
totally
that a
into
note.
horror and zombies and stuff, but this has zombies, but it's not horror.
Okay.
It's just like ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. This girl lives on a body farm. Her dad's a professor at this body farm in Texas.
Okay.
And
That's fun.
she has ADHD. This is the other thing that I love about it is the way that ADHD is represented. You never says, and I have ADHD. You just understand it because she compares it to, she calls it her Aranita, her little spider jumping around on her web in her brain. And so when I interviewed the author, she was like, yeah, that's just how it works. I loved that representation. And then this girl just has a hard time making friends because of her ADHD and her
Yeah.
obsession with creepy things like bodies. And so then all of a sudden on the body farms, bodies are missing. And so there's this
That's not good.
the way that the bodies go missing is very unique, and I love the kind of almost science fiction-y
Okay.
aspect of it, and it's just so much fun. And then they make friends with one of the zombies. Like he's
Okay.
very aware, and then he starts losing body parts. And she said that she contacted scientists and talked about how a body decomposes. And so she's very into the science of a zombie actually decomposing as they're hanging out with this zombie. Like it's not the creepy, oh, like, well,
Yeah. Of
that one's not. There are some of them walking around that are not,
course.
they've
Of
been
course.
dead for
Yeah.
so long. But it's just that it's so ridiculous. Like it's just a silly zombie kind of thing that I just loved. Like, because
That's
again,
awesome.
I'm not so in horror kind of thing, but you can like
Mm.
laugh at it in this book.
Yeah.
That's just like, okay, body parts falling off all over the place.
That's awesome.
One of the
That's
zombies is in
fun.
a Pikachu costume because they're comparing how fabrics
Mm.
affect bodies. So like this lady's zombie is walking around as Pikachu, and it's just ridiculous. I loved it.
Ridiculous is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Colby, thank you so much.
This was so fun.
Does
Thanks for
yeah,
having me.
and talking about some of our favorite books. I know there are so many more, so I'm just going to give a shout out. I know Colby, you have a list on your website of just your favorite books of 2024, and then you have one for like every year going back. How many years? Like it just goes back. I know.
A
Yeah,
handful of years, probably.
years. Yeah. If you want more, go check out Colby's list. On my YouTube channel where this podcast will also be posted monthly. I post, some of my favorite books that I read every month. So we've got so many more. I know we couldn't have covered them all. Just thank you so much and keep on reading.
Yeah, this was fun. Let's do it again next year.
All right, cool. Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.